Are your dreams of early retirement getting derailed by simple mistakes? And maybe mistakes you don't even know about? Well, it's not too late. In this video, I'm gonna identify the 5 most common missteps that can wreck your early retirement plans that you can actually start fixing right now. Okay, so the first one that I see if you want early retirement is saving in 401ks. There's a few reasons for this. First and foremost is that 401ks, let's just admit, they're locked up, the money's there. You hope it works out, but the truth is that they perform horribly. The funds that you actually have to choose from don't usually do well. In fact, they usually do worse than the stock market. So I'll give you an example. The S&P 500, which is kind of what everybody measures their performance based on, right? The S&P 500 for the last 30 years has produced an actual average yield of just over 7.5% a year. Not 10, not 12%, but about 7.5%. Now, someone will argue with me and say, yeah, but Chris, I get that match. It's easy money, like it's free money. It's brainless investing. Why wouldn't I do it? Well, the problem is this, is even with the match doesn't make up for the bad performance of your funds because 401k funds, to give you an example, I actually did a video on this on one of my podcasts on another channel. We have a Money Ripples podcast channel you can definitely check out. But on that channel, we talked about with the actual performance of Fidelity's funds. And I showed a 10-year period. Now, in that 10-year period, the stock market did amazing. In fact, it did better than its usual long-term average. It did over 10%. But guess what? The 401k funds, the retirement funds they tell you to pick from, in fact, millennials pick this as the number one thing. Here's a little bonus tip. Do not pick those performance-based funds that say your retirement target date is blank. So like the 2055 or the 2060 retirement target dates. Those ones performed over 2% worse on their performance. And that did not include the 0.75% that was coming out in fees. So do the math here, right? It was about 2.1% difference plus 0.75. That means it did almost 3% worse than the stock market. And people start to wonder, especially if you've had it for a long time. Talk to people that are in their 50s or 60s, ask them about their 401k performance, and they'll tell you it wasn't as good as they thought. Now, if they just keep packing money in, they maybe not are thinking about it that much, but the ones that put money in and let it sit there realize, oh my goodness, this is not doing anything. And even as you put money in 401ks, even with the match and everything else, they don't match the old money, they just match the new money. So the more you have in a 401k, the less the match really makes a difference. And so what happens is you're about 3% less. And the average stock market, like I said, is just over 7.5%. So if you're doing about 3% less, that means you're making what, 4.5%, maybe 5% if you're lucky? That's more likely what you can expect potentially in your mutual funds, depending on the timing and whatnot. Well, if you're only earning 5%, even with that match, the match usually only adds another 2 or 3%. That means you're only making maybe 7 or 8%. The same thing as the stock market does when you're not putting money in a 401k. So, and that's just not excellent either. So just be aware that 401ks just suck.
This sucks.
Yeah.
They're a horrible place to put money and actually make money. Granted, it's nice when you get the retirement match that you get from the employer, but usually after the first year, that match really doesn't do much for you. And this comes to my next point, is that there's no real diversification in these retirement funds. When you look at retirement funds, they pretty much just give you the suite of mutual funds. That's it. Now people will say, well, mutual funds are diversified. They invest in multiple stocks and different companies. That's true. However, that's not diversification. Diversification means you're in different asset classes, right? Like for example, real estate is different than paper assets, which are where your stocks, bonds, and your savings accounts and everything else is in. Real estate's in a different category. Business is in a different category too. Commodities like gold and silver, oil and gas is a different category. That's diversification. Putting your money in mutual funds, even if it's stocks and bonds, is not diversified. How do we know this? Because look at 2008. 2008, the market went down, people lost money, but guess what? It didn't matter if you were in stocks or bonds, both lost money. And when I was a financial advisor, I would teach people, oh, well, we get a little bit of bonds in here because bonds don't usually lose money. So when stocks go down, bonds go up. That's not necessarily true. In fact, sometimes that's not true at all. What happens is that sometimes those bonds will lose money at the same time. 2022, perfect example. Bonds went down, stocks went down. It didn't matter what you did. You weren't really diversified, and so you lost money regardless. Some of you guys lost 20+% in 2022. That is a big setback if you're trying to retire early. Now, my third point here, it's just the wrong vehicle. Listen, if you want to go overseas, you could take a boat or you can take an airplane, right? But you would not drive a car overseas, would you? That thing would just skip across the water and then it just drown. We don't want to be in the wrong places. Most people, when they keep putting money in retirement vehicles, but they want to retire early. And if that retirement early means, let's say the age of like under 59 and a half, then this is the wrong vehicle to be investing in. Why? Because if you try to pull out money out of your 401ks or IRAs before you're 59 and a half, not only will you pay income taxes, full income taxes on that, but you'll also pay a 10% early withdrawal penalty. And that's assuming that by the time you retire, they don't raise the retirement age to 62 or whatever they've proposed in the past. If they keep it at 59 and a half, and you want to retire at 50, this is the wrong vehicle. It's not gonna get you there. It's like trying to drive a car across the Pacific Ocean. It won't work, right? It's a bad thing to do. So why would you keep plugging all your money into these 401ks and IRAs, knowing full well that you can't use them to retire early? So again, the strategy does not match the goal. So whenever I have people say, I wanna retire before the age of 60, I say, great. We have these retirement vehicles over here. This is not gonna do you any good. Right? We need to have cash on hand. You need to have cash outside of those retirement vehicles. So again, if you're looking at retirement, don't use that. This is where someone could actually use things like our infinite banking type of policies, where we talk about max ROI infinite banking so you get a better return on them. But those monies can actually be used as savings to build up and then invest. And the cool thing is you can actually make money in two places at the same time when you do it that way, actually speeding up and accelerating much better than keeping it in IRAs or 401ks. So that can be a much better strategy to use if you're gonna do something like that versus just saving your bank account, which is also an option. All right, here's the one of the biggest mistakes I see. It's not the biggest one, but it's definitely a big one, is you listen to financial advisors or coworkers or friends or neighbors. You're listening to the wrong people. Understand when you ask a financial advisor, they're not giving you financial expertise. They're really just giving you their perspective, their lens, based on what they sell you, which are their products, right? You rarely ever hear a financial advisor say, you know what? You should invest in stock market. You should invest in real estate instead because it's been proven to be better returns, better cash flow. And the truth is the stock market's not that great. You won't see financial advisors do that because what happens to those financial advisors? They become like me, they quit and then go teach you this stuff like on YouTube, right? Because we see the light, we realize this stuff doesn't work, it's broken. So stop listening to financial advisors who have a self-interest in selling you their advice. Just like realtors, right? Realtors, you ask them if you should buy real estate, they'll say yes, and I can get it for you, right? Financial advisors, same thing. Invest in the stock market, and I can get it for you. So don't listen to them. Coworkers, they don't know what they're going on. It's like the blind leading the blind. You don't want to have somebody trying to teach you and help you with something when they haven't done it either. You instead want to listen to those that have actually been or actually currently at where you want to go. If you want passive income, listen to those that actually create passive income. And I'm not the only one, right? There's many of us out there. We are many. But listen to those people that actually are doing those things. We're the ones that actually have gone through it. We've forged the path before you to tell you, here's the path to take. Oh, avoid taking that path. That one's not going to be good. Do this one instead. Now, the big one. What's the number one advice I can give somebody, especially one of the biggest mistakes people make, is that they don't invest for cash flow. They invest to accumulate their money. This is the problem with retirement accounts, is that you're only supposed to reinvest the money, but never pull that money out to create actual income, passive income for that matter. You need to invest in real cash flowing investments. Now, can you do that with an IRA or 401k? Yes. You can actually transition it to a self-directed IRA, for example. Now, if you have a company 401k, you can't do anything with it. But if you have old 401ks that are no longer tied to a company, and they're just sitting there like an IRA is, right, or IRAs in general, you can actually self-direct them. You can actually invest these wherever you want. Within a few exceptions to the rule, you can actually use that money to invest. Now, will this get you to early retirement?
No.
Not necessarily, right? Because again, it's still in these qualified plans. But the problem is this, is that again, if you want to retire early, you need cash flowing investments. You need to accelerate your way, not accumulate your way to retirement. You got to do it faster. You got to do it better.
You fast, bro, but you ain't fast enough!
And you know what? It's going to require you doing things differently. In fact, a lot differently than what you've been taught to do traditionally. The conventional saver wisdom, quote unquote wisdom that they have out there, that advice that they give you out there, the conventional stuff has not worked. I know because I was a financial advisor and I saw the real life results of that. Not just from me, but from everybody they listen to in the financial industry, from decades of that advice, and still people aren't becoming financially free. They're not able to truly retire worry-free. That can only happen if you invest in real assets that provide regular, predictable, stable cash flow. When it replaces your income, then you can do it. That's how I was able to do it when I was in my 20s, my late 20s. I was able to become financially independent because I had passive income coming in that actually was way better than trying to save forever in those mutual funds that I was doing before. That is the key. That is the secret. Remember, put it out of your mind, the conventional advice, because it hasn't worked. Use what's actually worked for those of us that have done it, and that's it. Invest in real cash flowing investments. All right, if you like this video, you got a lot of value from this video, one, like and subscribe to our channel, but two, check out the other money mistakes that are coming up next.